Why does everything feel worse today? Like you buy something and it breaks within a year. You sign up for something and it turns out to be a monthly subscription. You fly somewhere and the seats are magically smaller, the delays are longer, the service is worse. You watch shows that never take any risks or have any meaningful messages. And it's not just one thing, it's everything. Our cars, our clothes, our food, our technology, our entertainment, our housing, our appliances, everything feels cheaper, flimsier, uglier, and somehow more expensive all at the same time. And I sort of stumbled upon this video of something I would normally probably never watch. It's from this guy who runs a company called Edison Motors, but I think it brushes upon the surface of this issue of what I think is wrong. And I don't think this is just an economic problem. I think this is a deeply rooted greed problem. And I think the Bible told us exactly what would happen when profit becomes a god above all things in our life. Okay, so I'm not going to watch the entire video, but I will link this video in the description. Would encourage you guys to check it out. Really great channel, really great company. Support this guy. Really awesome. Glad I stumbled upon it. But anyways, we'll jump right into it.
Now to start with, I saw a news article from The Drive the other day, and believe it or not, you're not allowed to change your own brake shoes anymore, at least not without paying a monthly subscription. So if you want to buy a car and you want to change one of your brake pads, you know, a brake pad, a simple thing that wears down like a tire, you use it, you wear it down, it's maintenance, you replace it. Sure would love to do my own. No, you got to buy a $2,000 to $6,000 computer, and then you need to pay a monthly subscription to have access to the computer to allow you to change your brake pads in your vehicle. So what does that mean? Well, most people aren't going to do that. Most people don't have $2,000 to $6,000 on top of the already stupid high price of a new car. Just change the brake pads. It means people either aren't going to change their brake pads when they should be, or they've got to go back to a dealer and pay a dealer. They're just trapping you into this monthly subscription bullshit that doesn't need to.
Yeah, no, that's just stupid. Like, I can't even understand how these people that make these trucks could think, and I'll be honest, I don't know anything about these trucks. I know nothing about semi-truck. I mean, I had a normal truck growing up, but like, I don't know anything about these. So that's just my disclaimer going into this. But a brake pad's a pretty, basic maintenance thing. That's really not that complicated. I don't really understand why you need a $2,000, debug computer is what that looks like, just to clear, I guess, a status message. Status message is what I guess, but I don't know if total it's like $6,000 worth of computers. I don't really know why you would need that, and also why they require it. That's just absurd. It's just stupid. Well, I guess it makes sense, right? Because they want you to spend a boatload of money to do something very simple. Like you take the simplest maintenance job in the world, and then it's this moment where you realize the world doesn't really want you to own anything anymore. It wants you to be dependent forever. It's not innovation. It's like enslavement disguised as inconvenience. So I don't think it was Edison. I don't think he's wrong here at all. I think this is a total trap. But anyways, we'll dive back into the video here.
Sorry about my language in this video. It's gonna be a little spicy. I'm a little bit worked up because this is horseshit. Now to start with, I have seen this in our trucking career, and me and Eric had a trucking company. We had a truck, needed a new turn signal. My turn signal stopped working. Pretty important on a truck. Can't go to work without it. I go to buy a turn signal. They tell me that this turn signal, it's molded into this plastic steering column. So in order to replace that, I needed the one that goes with the molded plastic steering column, that custom mold, and it's CAN bus and it plugs in and it works off of that. You need that specific one. Whereas back in the day, do you realize that all of these trucks behind me, this 1962 Kenworth has the exact same turn signal as this 1984 Kenworth, and has the exact same turn signal as this 1998 Kenworth. My 2010 Western Star had that exact same turn signal. That's a common turn signal. It's been in trucks for years. It costs about $40 to $50. They're normally in every Lordco, every little local parts, Napa, distributor, the dealership would have them in stock. They didn't have this custom one for my truck. We had to wait 2 days to get that turn signal in. You add up the $500 turn signal, then you add up the $3,000 a day that we were missing in lost revenue from having that truck down, and that is a $6,500 turn signal that cost us, that I should have bought for $40 and had on the shelf.
Yeah, no, I can't even, I can't understand that design choice, right? Like you have he just shows you like all three of those trucks he points to all have the same part, which is crazy that to even think today a car would have the same part as like the previous year or the year before that. Like, I don't think you could do that with any cars today. I can't think of any cars really that are like 2020 and newer, where the part from 2020 is the same as 2025 or 2020 is the same as 2022. It's almost like they just completely scrap every design every year. And for one, it makes more work for them, but two, it makes it unbelievably difficult to replace parts like he's going through right now. And for whatever reason, they design a turn signal with molded plastic connected to it for whatever reason. Why? Why do you need to do that, right? Like I'm an engineer, I work in engineering, but if it's not broken, don't fix it, dude. You don't need to redesign everything. And make it worse, by the way. Like, do the BMW methodology of just absolutely overcomplicating everything and making something this massive engineering problem. I'm derailing the topic here, but the point of this being is you take a $40 issue that can be resolved in an hour, something that's just like this universal problem that can be fixed in seconds. And now a single custom piece costs $500. A single custom part that he had to wait 2 days for cost him $500 and almost, I think he said $6,500 because his whole business has to basically shut down for 2 days, right? And it's not because it's better, all right? The system makes more money when your life is frustrating, when it's more expensive. This is really what I think planned obsolescence looks like, this strategy of designing things to break so these companies can make an extra buck, right? So that you're in this position where it's like, oh, hey, your headlight doesn't work? Oh, well, just go buy a whole nother truck. Just go drop $50,000 again. I mean, it is just stupid. It's just dumb. And this is obviously not an accident. These people sit in boardrooms, they come together and they say, you know what? Let's say yes to this really dumb, stupid design where we'll make a ton of money and our bag's going to be huge. But everyone like this guy and all of us watching this video, we get screwed over. And when you really think about it, that's the logical outcome of a deeply flawed and empty worldview that destroys its own culture, that destroys its own community, that destroys its own nation, right? When we look at it even at that scale, it's like philosophically, it's like when all you do is prioritize profit, all of a sudden your whole nation just starts to erode because every company is targeting its own people all so that they can make a few more dollars. Anyways, we'll dive into that more. Let's jump back into the video here.
Old Blue, that 1969 Kenworth we got back there, I bought that off the original owner in 1969 who bought it. Old Bob Murphy. Bob Murphy bought it, he restored it. Now it may be a bit of a truck of Theseus in that, well, it's on its third motor. I think it's got 4 transmissions, 2 sets of rear ends. So it's been changed out, but he could change it and he could send that truck off to work. He bought it, he ran it until he retired, and then I took it over and I've been running that truck since then. But that's what you used to be able to do. You used to be able to buy a vehicle and hold on to that vehicle and then get ahead. Now, as an owner-operator, say you buy a truck, you go it, the first 4 or 5 years, that truck has a payment. You pay that truck off. You've still got a good truck for another 4 or 5 years, another 10 years even. Well, now you can afford to buy a second truck. You can grow your business. You can grow your company. If you don't want to grow and you're a single one-off owner-operator, well, now you got a little bit that you can save away for a rainy day fund.
So I'm not going to go over the whole video. It's 15 minutes long. Watch the whole thing, you guys. But I just want to pause it here. It just kind of like this thought hit me of like, so I was born in 1997, right? So some of you probably older than me watch this video. Some of you are younger than me, I don't know. But I cannot remember a time in my life where cars were like, you could do this, where you could do this with cars, what he just described, where it's like 4 transmissions, you know, like everything was interchangeable. Like I cannot imagine, I've never seen that, which is sad and sucks. But I wish every car had this. Like I'm serious, whoever wants to make, you know, not that this is an easy thing to do. It's like, go start a car business where you could just replace every single part. You'll probably never get funding because these people don't want you to do that. But that's just a crazy thought I have of like, I've never in my lifetime, I don't think ever seen cars where every single part was like, oh, you could just go replace it. Go replace the transmission, right? Go replace the rear, right? I don't even understand how that's possible. And that's awesome, dude. I wish cars were like that today. I've never gotten to experience that in my life. And I think another part that really hit me hard when he's talking about this is like, he's talking about these old trucks that lasted decades, which is crazy to me. Crazy. Awesome. Like I wish cars could do that today. He said, I think it was a 1969 Kenworth, he said there, it had 3 engine replacements and 4 transmissions, as I said earlier. and it's still working, it's still running. And I can't help but think like, man, everything used to be like that. Everything was built with pride. It was built with this idea or intentionality of like, we want this thing to last a long time. And it's built so that, like a man or whoever it is can work hard and get ahead and maybe pass something on. And I think when we really think about this, I think we see these problems. And I think the overly simplistic thing to do is to say like, oh, this is capitalism. It's not a capitalism thing. It's not a capitalism versus socialism thing, which I think is the tendency people have to deduce this topic into. I think it's really just a stakeholder thinking versus a shareholder thinking. So when you prioritize the stakeholders, all of a sudden you revert back to the quality of like 1950s, 1960s of where everything's made to be long lasting, durable, valuable, not super expensive, right? Not super unnecessarily fancy. But I think unfortunately today, everything is built around shareholders. The shareholder way of thinking is like, make the stock go up by Thursday. Even if the product dies next year, we essentially took this shareholder model and we traded legacy for quarterly returns. We traded craftsmanship for subscriptions. We traded durability for dependence. And the middle class, the workers, the people who keep the world running for all intents and purposes, like are drowning under this weight created by this shareholder first model. And so I think when you see this, I want you to ask yourself, is housing better? Are appliances better? Is entertainment better? Is clothing better? Are cars better? Are airlines better? Are restaurants better? When I honestly go through every single one of those categories, but the resounding answer is no. Like every single one of those topics, every single one of them, it's worse. Things are objectively worse. And yet, profits, man, you cannot soar higher. Apparently, profits are just higher than they've ever been. I don't even have to pull it up on the screen. Like you can go watch any video, any news broadcast, anything. All you see are green lines in the stock charts. All the markets, they're all soaring in heights. And you see this pattern, this philosophy. And I think you look at these things and you can't help but think, man, we've created this god of profitability. And I think beneath sort of the economics, I think what Edison is describing here is that there's this thing that the Bible warned us about thousands of years ago, that when you worship profit, everything becomes disposable, including people, including your communities, including everything that really matters in society. And this is really what shareholder first capitalism is. Make the investors rich no matter the cost. Cut corners, shrink materials, raise prices, replace people with AI, replace people with offshore employment, replace parts with subscriptions, lie about production numbers, hit your targets, cash out. The Bible has a word for this. And we all see this, and I hope we all think, man, that is the definition of exploitation. And a verse I kind of immediately think of, or a couple verses here, is found in, James 5, verse 4 through 5. And it says, "Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter." And then another verse I found is in Amos chapter 8, verse 4 through 5, and it kind of calls out the same problem of, at verse 4 it reads, "Hear this, you who trample the needy and do away with the poor of the land, saying, when will the new moon be over? That we will sell grain and the Sabbath be ended, that we may market wheat, skimping on the measure, boosting the price." And I think translation for that meaning cutting quality, raising prices, and trapping people in cycles they can't escape. That's literally what we're living in. And it's not just objects that feel disposable. I think relationships feel disposable. Careers feel disposable. Communities feel disposable. People feel disposable because I think these people that run these corporations, these hedge funds, these people that control all the capital have created a god of profitability above all things, a god of comfort where everything becomes a product or service, where enough is never really enough and our appetites are never satisfied. We poison our own people through our food that's low quality. We take these risks of making these low quality products that our very lives kind of depend on, and we essentially destroy our children's futures, all so that we can have 5 seconds of pleasure and reassurance, and that money will give us this sort of comfort and safety. Why? Why do that? And so let's break this down really simply, and I'll have like a nice little fancy slide here that shows you all this stuff kind of point by point, but shareholder capitalism is essentially just serving the numbers only. It's short-term thinking, quarterly profits, cut costs, cheap materials, planned obsolescence, layoffs to hit targets, design things to break, trap customers with subscriptions. It's essentially this heart of Babylon. Use people, love money. Whereas in contrast, we see stakeholder capitalism is serve the people, long-term thinking, build things that last, treat workers with dignity, serve the community, think generationally, choose integrity even if profits dip, create value that honors the creator. And this is the heart of scripture, right? This is the Genesis 2:15 sort of vibe of like work and keep the garden, meaning protect, cultivate, and sustain. Or we read in Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, meaning we should think generationally, not quarterly. And I think we all read inheritance in Proverbs 13 and we think inheritance just means money. It just means like, oh, it's just when we die, we should leave an inheritance to our kid, and that just means money and assets and property. And that can be a part of inheritance. But when you look at sort of the Hebrew customs, like of the Old Testament and what Solomon's referring to by inheritance, it really is an inheritance of like wisdom, of a relationship in God, of things that are beyond just the material. And I think we kind of immediately we resort to this thing in our mind of, well, it must be money. It must be a liquid amount that we can leave our kids, and that's a valuable thing. And don't get me wrong, money's a useful tool. But I think so many of us, including these people who have these planned obsolescence operations, of these really bad practices that screw people over like Edison, I think we all tend to think the same way of, if we just have enough money, then not only can we leave our kids money, but we ourselves will find comfort and satisfaction in things that we can own, and services and products and homes, and these sort of lavish, sort of never-ending cycles of consumption are all that we want. And they'll measure up to be these things that are immensely satisfying. But what we see in the end is that even when you have all the money, it's never enough, and you end up screwing over everyone around you just to get there because you're never satisfied, because the number's never big enough. You run into this greed issue. Inheritance is something that's very much eternally thought out, meaning that rather than focusing on the things of earth, these sort of finite, very temporary things, you're focusing on the things in heaven. You're focusing on eternal things that aren't just things that moth and rust are going to destroy, that aren't just going to turn to dust the moment you die. So the question is, what inheritance do we really want to leave our kids? Do we just want to leave them a bunch of money? Is that all we have? Is that all we have to offer? Or do we want to leave them the wisdom of having a deeply profound relationship with God, of having something that surpasses and transcends just these finite, inevitably dust-filled objects in our lifetime? A relationship with God is the greatest thing you can equip the next generation with. And I think overall, we look at all these things, and it's why everything feels so empty, because everything is built on this economy around a God who cannot give life. Like, where's the life in just profits and just extracting profits and maximizing money? And so let's really drive all this home and really think about, like, what does this actually look like in my life or your life watching this video? You, the person watching this. I think so many of us, including you, grew up in a world where jobs don't lead to stability anymore, where housing is virtually unattainable, where dating feels like a marketplace, this really hyper-competitive marketplace, where friendships feel transactional, where content is algorithmic, where products break, prices rise, companies don't seem to care, leaders don't tell the truth, and everything feels like it's not built to last. And deep down, you're probably asking yourself, is this really how life is supposed to be? And of course not. No, it's not. And I think that ache you feel, that hunger for something more durable, more meaningful, more human, I don't think that's weakness. I think that's God pulling you toward his kingdom, because only his kingdom builds things that last. Only his kingdom values people above profit. Only his kingdom calls you to stewardship, not exploitation. Only his kingdom treats you as a beloved son, not some monthly subscription. And so I think the biggest thing is what you can do with all of this. I think what you see in all these other YouTube videos is they just kind of perpetuate this sort of defeatist mindset of like, there is nothing you can do. It's out of your control. And there is truth in the sense that, yeah, there's probably nothing you can do as one person alone. There probably is nothing you can do. And guess what? That's okay. You don't have to do something on your own. Because if all of us can look to the heavens and see God above, reigning supreme over all these things, and we recognize that God is in control of all these things, regardless of our turmoil, regardless of our struggles and our pain and our suffering and our frustration of having to deal with these things, that we control how we choose to live, and that we're not going to make the mistakes that these people that control all this money, that control all these companies, that have all this authority and power, that we will never be like them, that we can choose to build our lives on faithfulness, not fame, that we can build relationships that aren't disposable, that we can build work that serves people, not algorithms, that we can build habits that strengthen our soul, not drain it, that we can build a future that honors God, not quarterly expectations, that we can build something that truly lasts, even if nobody sees it yet. And when you feel overwhelmed by the cheapness of this world, remember this, that you were not made in the image of the stock market. You were made in the image of God, and his image is not disposable. I think there should be hope found in the fact that whatever God has planned for your life, even if it seems impossible, even if all the odds seem stacked against you and insurmountable in every way, if you trust in him, as long as we trust in God, we have nothing to fear. That even when the waves come raging around us, like when Peter's walking on the water, walking towards Jesus, it's the fear of thinking that God cannot pull us out from the water that sends us drowning in the ocean. Whereas if we just focus on Jesus and we focus on all the things that he can do for us, and we focus on all the things that he already has done for us, that his reassurance is far greater than anything we can find in ourselves, that we don't have anything to fear. All these circumstances of life, of planned obsolescence, of an economy that's really just kind of broken, of a shareholder first model. If we focus on implementing this stakeholder first mindset, which is really just godly stewardship, if we focus on doing that ourselves, it starts with us, and we can change these things, and it doesn't have to stay broken. Maybe we won't see that success in our lifetime, but at least our impact, our effort to try to plant something greater for the next generation will be a blessing for them. And that's worth everything in the end. And I think all of you watching this video agree with me. And so that leads to the end of the video. Man, really appreciate you sticking through the whole thing. If you liked it, let me know down below in the comment section. Like, subscribe, share the video with your friends. And as always, God bless.